Hello everyone, my name is SurrealBeliefs and welcome to Attila Total War. I'm looking at a modification called Seven Kingdoms, a mod based upon a Game of Thrones. And I won't be talking about the battle that we have here. I have a friend who's very passionate about a Game of Thrones and he'll be going over our choices and what we're doing. We're looking at Stannis Baratheon right now, and give me just a moment to go over the army. Here's his army. We have over 10,000 men in one battle. It may slow down at a few points, but that is due to the inherent problems of the engine, not my fault. We have a coalition of various bannermen from the north, and over here we're looking at the Freys, and of course, you know, a nasty Bolton. Okay, Richard, let me know about the overview for this battle. I guess we could begin to go over your choice to bring in a bunch of bannermen from the north.
Ah, right, well, if I can give you all the basic setup, what we're doing here is the Battle on the Ice. If anyone here reads the books and knows the Song of Ice and Fire literature and how it's led up to this point where we're Stannis, just in the Crofters village, waiting to besiege Winterfell, when in this situation, he and his army are starving, and they're struggling, and it's a small force remaining of his own loyal Dragonstone warriors, his personal knights, men-at-arms, envoys, all that sort of stuff. He's joined by, and this, as anyone who's read the Dance of Dragons knows, it's all a hodgepodge of troopers from different northern houses, and including the northern clan tribes, and we've basically done placeholders here in the essence of some Mormonts, who he has got on side due to being, in the essence of it, fighting for the retribution of the Starks against the traitorous Boltons and the Freys. He's got Glovers because he saved Deepwood Mott from the Ironborn. He does have some Ironborn in there, but honestly there's so few in there we may as well just roll them in with the rest of the Northern Infantry. And I've given him some Karstarks because, now yes, I do know, the Karstarks are most definitely a traitorous group in and of themselves and are Bolton plots at the end of the day, but those are only the commanders, and we know, if anyone's seen the pre-release chapter for Theon 1, the Karstarks have been removed in terms of the dangerous elements within their own army. The soldiers there are completely ill on the situation. They do not know what their commanders were up to, so essentially they'll be joining the fight, because if they don't, well, then they'll have to wander the rest of the northern wilderness, probably wander their way back home if they can, and either way the Boltons won't spare them, and if anyone knows Boltons, we know that they're in trouble either way. So, that's given us the basis for the army we've built up. We have some cavalry for the northern forces, consisting of their remaining professional men-at-arms and soldiers, as you can see in their frontline forces. We have some professional infantry, because they do still have household guards and whatnot. For the most part, we got spear levies for them, and they're going to be standing in for, say, the 400 spears that the Karstarks brought, and in the other end, the northern clansmen that we've got coming from the basis of the... what are they? They're the Wolves, I think there's one of them in there is a Flint, there's Norries, quite a little number of them. They seem very similar to Wildlings, but they were always loyal to the Starks. Now I've got them standing in for the northern forces, whereas for Stannis himself we've got his professional infantry, his professional army, and including some siege engines. Did we include them? I can't entirely remember.
I actually did forget to add them back in, so no, we don't have them right now, but that would have been great to have.
That's quite alright. For all intents and purposes of the battle, we'll say they've already fired and broken the ice, which brings me on to the very important and pinnacle point of this battle as to why we're taking it on a river crossing. If anyone does know of the basis of what's happening with the Crofters village, there is a theory going around that has quite a bit of water to it, I get it, that there is... yeah, sorry, I can't avoid puns. That there is a plot where, since Stannis was a shipmaster, and there was often a cunning plot if you wanted to get rid of an enemy ship, scupper one, ambush it, you would douse the lighthouse lamp so that it would crash into the shores, crash into the rocks, and be much easier to deal with. In that similar vein, we are going to assume that he's put out the fire in the Crofters village watchtower, and will instead be setting fire to the heart tree that is in the middle of an island on the lake, where there have been plenty of holes drilled for people to fish. That's Stannis' army attempting to get some food before they all inevitably begin starving, which, as we know, does start to happen. And leading up to this point, it's a horrible blizzard going on. It's a shame we can't put that in the game engine, but I have a feeling if we did, the battle would literally grind to a standstill, because I don't think there's a computer alive that would be able to handle that sort of stuff. But, yeah, on that basis, we've got it where there's this horrible blizzard going on, and with him replacing the light in a much more dangerous area, we have Frey forces who will be marching out there to try and find him, and all they will see is this light in the distance and think, ah, there we are, the Crofter's village. Let's go kill Stannis. They'll go riding up there, and before they realise, they'll have all completely sunk into the ice because it will have cracked under the heavy horse and armour, and that will be when the ploy is delivered, and that'll be where the trebuchets come in, because they will be firing into the lake as well to make sure it all cracks and breaks. So whilst you have Freys currently freezing their asses off, you then have the Northerners and their forces charging into the baggage train, which, as you can see here, is the Northerners making the attack first. The basis of this battle, as best we can put it in the engine of the game, is the Northerners attacking the Frey forces well and before they can steer themselves right and get into formation. Now, we've got some Boltons in there as well, because, as the case may be, one can assume, considering Roose does not trust Ramsay, yes, he's his son, a bastard son, but we all know he does not trust Ramsay, and one thing Roose is meticulously good at is removing rogue elements by sending them to kill each other or killing them upon his enemies. So he's sent Ramsay out with an expendable number of Boltons. We're going to assume a lot of their forces are going to be Dustins, Barrowmen, perhaps a few Masons if he's got any of them on hand. Essentially all the minor lords of the north who have been rather coaxed into fealty. So that's going to be the force that Ramsay's dealing with, and that's what we've got for the Bolton forces here. Now, the way the battle is progressing would strongly dictate, I would say, it falls in line with what I think will happen in the book personally, and this is based on some somewhat decent intuition of my own small mind, but also based on the intuition of a few in the fandom as a whole, that the Frey cavalry will be taken completely unawares and cut to pieces, cut to ribbons. The Boltons coming in behind will also face similar trouble. They perhaps have a better chance, but they'll still be facing an absolute nightmare. And then, of course, you've got the Mandalese, who the Freys do not get along with, and it's a shame we can't really put this one in there, but you'd have Mandalese forces striking from behind, much further behind, because one can assume, especially the way the Mandalese spoke about the Freys, the way Lord Wyman picks a fight with them, and gets in quite a bit of trouble with them. One can assume he has ill intent for the Freys, and despite now Stannis himself seems to think that the Mandalese are against them, because as far as he knows, they have killed Davos Seaworth, as far as his information leads him to believe. However, we know that Davos is completely alive and well. He's on his way to go and find Rickon on Skagos, and that the Mandalese are secretly on Stannis' side. So there are traitors in both camps here. The only difference is Stannis has ousted his traitors. The Boltons, as far as we know, the best they've done is send them out to go and fight, which may end up biting the Bolton army as a whole in the arse, but not Roose, because that man has been smart enough to realise that whilst he has greater numbers in a siege, that's also your downfall, especially in winter when it's freezing cold. So one can assume the reason he's sending a lot of his men out there to attempt to kill Stannis, it's like a good dice roll. On a 4, a 5, and a 6, he's got rid of Stannis' forces, suffering some casualties on his own side. Job done, no problem there, unify the North under Roose rule. On a 1, a 2, or a 3, his forces get smashed, they come back licking their wounds with the tails between their legs, having significantly lost numbers. The siege continues, he still has Winterfell, he still has reserves inside there, and a lot less mouths to feed. So, at the end of the day, whoever wins the battle, Roose, at least to some degree, wins. Although following on from that, and that would be much after this battle, we know that any smart man in Stannis' position, we know Stannis is a fairly smart person when it comes to his tactics, he'll go and fish those Freys out of the lakes and take off the clothes of whatever their soldiers are carrying, all of their tabards, all of their heraldry, and he'll probably have his own men wear it, and that'll be the idea of somehow getting a sneak into Winterfell, because even with 10 times the number, you're not getting in there. But that's obviously much further in the future of this battle. For the meantime, we come back to the battle, and it seems like things are going in the favour of Stannis, and anyone who's a book fan will join me in being very happy on that one. Now back to you, Matthew.
Okay, well right now we can look at our northern allies who have greatly fallen. Now, I'm very impressed with it. I didn't know that the AI actually did it in Attila, but their horsemen pulled back for a bit, and now they're behind my lines, where currently I'm delegating a few men to hold back the remaining swarms of Freys, and of course the Boltons too. Right now, I do believe Ramsay has fallen in battle, so he's now gone. If we look at the river, and you'll see it in just a moment, Richard, there are nothing but bodies all over. It is just a massacre of just so many soldiers. I mean, to let you know, to remind you, over 10,000 men are currently fighting in this battle. Unfortunately, Mage did fall, but I'm pretty sure she served her purpose, and she's probably out there in the river floating down dead, which is very tragic. But right now, it looks like we're finally beginning to push them back. Fresh men of Stannis Baratheon were able to come in as reinforcements, and right now, many of the Freys and Boltons are beginning to flee. And as they flee, we're shooting upon them with volley after volley of precise archer fire. And I decided to use a bit of fire at the very end, you know, got to purge him and all that. So that is happening.
Well, we all know, got to burn heretic and all that sort of stuff, so why
Very
not do
important.
it to the Freys and the Boltons? I could see them being cornate little sods, so yeah, why not? Completely annihilate whatever numbers they have left. And feel free to ride them down. Every man you kill outside those walls is a man you won't have to kill inside Winterfell. And I have a feeling Stannis will do the same. I mean, the whole basis of the theory behind the Battle on the Ice is... They're calling it the Battle of the Ice as nearer to the Battle of Fire, with, you know, Daenerys' loyalists going up against the Yunkai and all that sort of stuff. The Battle of the Ice, one can assume, it draws from actual history, where... someone in the comments will know. It was when the Teutonics and the Novgorods were at war, and the Teutonic Knights, all their heavy cavalry, all their, you know, all these fantastic warriors who would completely roll over the Novgorodian militia and whatnot, they would just come in and sweep through them, but because they chose the Papus River, the Great Lake around that area in the Papus River, the Teutonics came charging in, and they crashed through the ice, and drowned and froze. And that's when the Novgorod infantry and everything just managed to go in there and finish off the job that was started. And that battle in history is known as the Battle of the Ice. So here's hoping that the book follows history and also follows some decent reason, and that we get the result that we want.
So what you're telling me is you agree with every choice they made in the TV show, and you support it completely, right?
It triggered. No. No, the show definitely chose the short-term route, and gave Jon Snow the victory on that one.
Oh, man.
I mean, who wants to see the tactical genius of Roose Bolton and Stannis cleverly playing these mind games from the reserve, having their armies destroy each other through clever move after clever move and careful manipulation, and eventually both these men, capable fighters but never ones to choose the field, would eventually don their helms, draw their blades, and have to join their men in the ranks, and then we see the glory of the battle finish, and we see Winterfell freed, hopefully. Now, who wants to see that? Let's have the battle of the six-packs between surprisingly attractive Ramsay and Jon Snow back from the grave, zombie Snow. That is dead Snow at the end of the day. Someone watched that with a bit too much enthusiasm.
That is pretty good. Okay, I'm going to end the battle now. We won the battle, a close victory. Let's go ahead and go through the losses real quick, and then I want to have a kind of an exposition about future Seven Kingdoms videos and all that. Okay, real quick, we lost only 227. Our allies lost 2,300, nearly all of their men. They have 589 remaining. It looks like the Riverland men, you know, of the Freys, they lost over 2,400, and it looks like the Boltons lost 2,200. So, I mean, it was a river crossing, and it looks like our northern allies did bloody them up at great cost, and we were able to come in and steal the day with our longbowmen doing a majority of the damage. But real quick, I'm going to just let all of you know, I don't know as much about A Game of Thrones as I probably should, but I can tell you who does. That guy right there, Richard. So if you would like to have future battles where essentially we set up a battle and he'll talk about his lore reasonings why, or we'll even recreate historical battles as best as we can, he can do that because he can tell you a lot more than anyone else that I've ever met or know of. So let me know down below if you would like that a lot. And if you did enjoy this video, leave a like down below. And his name is Richard, or what else do we call you? I don't know.
Richard is fine, although Sneaky Dick is a good one as well.
Sneaky Dick works too, so you can use that. But anyway, I do hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you want to say any last words... Oh wait, that sounds very grim. Anyway, since we're talking about A Game of Thrones, that might be appropriate. Go on.
I will indeed say some final words for the names of the Northerners lost here. And that will be to quote the great big bucket Wool, or at least to quote him as best as I can. Most of my men will not see next winter. We will not have the food to look after fighting men as well as the rest of our peoples. I want to see my men fight and destroy the Boltons. I want to rescue Ned's girls. I want to taste Bolton blood, red and thick upon my lips, when I cut them down in their droves. Have at me.
Well, something blood, tits, wine. All right, guys, and until then.